the PowerPoint. Is it okay?
Well, thank you, Anna. I'm going to, well, my name is Lola Perea. I'm from the University of Cadiz, and we're going to see very shortly the overview of the all the modules that made up the winter school, the trail school. As Violeta has already made a good summary of it, I'll just say that there were 5 days, and each module took place in the morning or in the afternoon, and was made up by an interactive session followed by a group session. We can see here that there were 11 modules. At the end of the last day, there was a session dedicated to the evaluation of the school and a wrap-up session. So I'm going to begin with the presentation of Module 1, Lsp Needs Analysis. The University of Cadiz team was in charge of delivering this Module 1, which was the opening session of the Trail School. Module 1 focused on Lsp Needs Analysis, a defining concept in the field of Lsp right from its start. First, a brief history of Lsp was provided. Then the place of Lsp within the realm of language teaching was highlighted. The basic concept of needs analysis in the Lsp arena was analyzed from its origin as a key concept in Lsp teaching to its more recent approaches. Then we looked at the type of learners' needs, from learning needs to the various types of target needs, and also to the importance of triangulation of views from the different stakeholders when conducting a needs analysis. Methods and data collection instruments such as interviews, questionnaires, observations, and so on were also discussed. Finally, we focused on the importance of conducting needs analysis for successful teaching and learning, and for course design in the area of Lsp. Now we go on with Module 2, that is going to be presented by my colleague, Spanish team.
Okay, hi. Good morning, everyone. I'm Maria Vázquez from University of Cadiz, the Cadiz team. We delivered the plenary and the group sessions of Module 2, Course and Syllabus Design. In the plenary session, we began by connecting Module 1, Needs Analysis, and Module 2, Course and Syllabus Design. We defined key terms, syllabus, course, and curriculum, and described the different stages of Lsp curriculum and course design. We also dealt with the specificity in course design, as well as with specialized discourse and genres, providing several examples of academic and occupational genres. We explained the different types of syllabi used in course design. The following topic we dealt with was course evaluation, and we described different types, methods, and participants. The last point in the plenary session was Lsp evaluation types and methods. In the group session, we tried to put all those concepts studied in the plenary session into practice. And to do so, the participants had to first study real Lsp course design examples, and then they had to design an Lsp course based on the needs analysis results which they obtained in Module 1. Once finished, we also discussed how to evaluate an Lsp course, and finally, we reflected on Lsp teacher self-evaluation. And that's what we did in Module 2. Thank you to everyone.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Thank you, Maria, for, do you hear me? Yes, Yes, I think so. Okay, good morning. So now we are moving to Tuesday morning, the whole morning. It was done by Slovenian team. My name is Daria from Slovenia. So firstly, in the morning, we have the interactive plenary led by Violeta Jurkovic, our colleague. And the main purpose was to make LSP participants, so pre-service and in-service teachers, aware of it. The main purpose was the awareness raising. And it was about the collaboration between discipline experts and professionals and LSP teachers. And this brought us to the awareness about or led us to genres, which are in fact that overlapping area between professionals, discipline experts, and LSP teachers. Of course, I would like to add that this collaboration may be actual, potential, it may be prolific, it may be also troublesome. Various forms appeared. And then in the second part of the morning, we moved to group sessions. And in group sessions, our participants had to Google to find a text genre they wanted to work on. Then they had to choose a shorter passage. Then somehow a sort of text analysis had to be done, mainly on that what typical LSP teachers usually do when they prepare for their LSP classes. This is terminology, meaning, details, perhaps also salient grammar structures. And then in small groups, participants had to in small groups, the participants had to work on outlines of their tasks. And these outlines at the end were exchanged. So sort of half products were designed. And that's all. Thank you. Now I pass to the word to take over the Croatian team again.
Hello, everyone. Hello, my name is Brankica Bošnjak-Terzic. I come from Croatia, and I will represent what the Croatian team has done. The Croatian team was in charge of this huge module 4, dealing with LSP teaching skills, and we divided it in 2 parts. The first part dealt with LSP vocabulary teaching and selective grammar teaching and learning in LSP settings. And it dealt with the basic concepts and principles and theories used in LSP vocabulary teaching. It dealt with the identification of technical and academic vocabulary and the problems we deal with when we come across these new context and corpus. We also focused on the importance of highly specialized terminology, numerous receptive and productive LSP vocabulary activities, the importance of the implementation of vocabulary strategy in actually the implementation of strategic learning in LSP context. We focused on selection of grammatical structures which were relevant to LSP settings, and again, receptive and productive grammar activities in authentic materials. I was in charge of the first part of the plenary, and the second part of the plenary, Snježana Kereković was in charge of this second part, and it dealt, the title was Developing the Comprehension of LSP Input, Reading, Listening, and Developing LSP Output, Writing and Speaking. Actually, all 4 skills were covered in this second part of the plenary. The focus was on receptive and productive skills in general, foreign language and LSP. Starting points for teaching the skills of reading, listening, writing, and speaking, with the focus on needs analysis and LSP disciplinary context. Also, Snježana talked about all kinds of presented different kinds of reading, listening, writing, and speaking activities pre, while, and post. And the focus was also on, and the emphasis was on the role of an LSP teacher and dealing with the authentic materials, real life situations, and learner-centered approach. After the plenary, 3 group sessions were delivered, all by each member of Croatian team. Olinka, Snježana, and I was in the first group. And what we tried in this group session was we tried to implement what we have learned in the plenary through numerous receptive, productive activities, developing all 4 teaching skills and vocabulary acquisition. And that's all from Croatian team.
Thank you very much. I'm Patrizia Neza from the University of Bergamo, and we were in charge of Module 5. In particular, Module 5 was delivered by Catherine Sherwood, Kailin Doge, and Michele Sala. The module was divided mainly into 2 parts. First part about materials evaluation, and the second part about materials design. What we focused on was, first of all, the idea that we wanted to present sets of criteria for the evaluation of LSP materials. So how can we evaluate materials? Then we discussed advantages and disadvantages of opting, adapting, and creating LSP teaching materials. And then we discussed the impact of the chosen LSP materials. Then in the second part of the module, we discussed materials design, so how to design, how to create new materials from scratch, or to integrate previously adopted materials. So we discussed the role and function of LSP teaching materials, okay, whether they were already available or tailor-made for the purposes of a given course. We talked about the characteristics of existing print versus digital resources, and especially because of the current situation, because of the pandemic, it was very interesting to discuss, what kind of digital resources could be integrated into the use of available LSP materials. Of course, we talked about the advantages of access to online authentic samples of text, and we discussed the notion of authenticity. And along these lines, we also discussed the importance of using multimodal material creations for engaging students, for involving them in the class, and so on. We also discussed the notion of just-in-time custom materials creation. And all these talks allowed us to help the learners to understand and explain the role of authentic LSP text and genre for the creation of teaching materials. And so we aim to use the existing concepts and guidelines to help the trainees to learn how they can create their own original LSP materials in an effective way. This is it for Module 5, and we can now move to Module 6.
Yes, thank you, Patricia. Hello, I'm Joanna Woźniak, and I'm from the Polish team from Adam Mickiewicz University and in Poznań, and I would like to present you the main assumptions of the assessment module. The plenary session was led by Peter John, our colleague from Jade University, and the group session was delivered by Peter John, by my colleague from the Polish team, Joanna Kicz-Drgas, and by me. So during the module, we discussed different types of LSP assessment, such as formative and summative tests, or placement, achievement, and proficiency tests. We have also tried to discern which test types are the most appropriate for a given situation or a given learning context. We have discussed the validity and applicability of LSP assessment types in a given context. We concentrated also on different assessment features. And finally, we discussed the issue of paper-based and computerized assessment. And at the end of the training, the trainees were able to, of course, to name different types of LSP assessment, discuss the applicability of LSP assessment types. They were also able to understand and apply the concepts of construct validity, content validity, and criterion validity. Then they were also able to understand and apply concept of intra-rater and inter-rater reliability. They were able to develop tools to measure reliability. They could also identify different assessment features to adapt these features to their own requirements and decide on the most useful combination of assessment features to develop a valid LSP assessment. And finally, they were able to reflect on the application of paper-based and computerized assessment, apprise the pros and cons of paper-based and computerized assessment, and devise the best strategy to combine both test types to achieve a fair assessment process. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olinka Breka, and I'm a member of the Croatian team. The Croatian team was in charge of Module 7, together with the Polish team. And here is what we did in the plenary session, which was delivered by myself and our colleagues, two Joannas from the Polish team. They took part in the group sessions. So first, I'd like to say why task project problem-based learning in LSP, why it was chosen for one of the modules, because as we know, or we believe that these methods provide our learners with opportunities to take part in meaningful and authentic use of language, thus fostering the development of 21st century skills. And this is what we've done. First, of course, we discussed the theory which is behind these methods, and after that we pointed out the basic features of a task, problem, or a driving questions and how to design them well. Next, in the next step, we talked about the steps that need to be taken in order to implement the theoretical and the basic features and the basic principles of task, project, and problem-based learning. So we provided them and discussed, provided the learners with frameworks. And after that, we discussed self-directed and multimodal learning because we believe that they are very, very important and relevant with regards to task, project, problem-based learning. Next, we discussed and analyzed different modes in terms of their modal affordances, especially having in mind what the modern learners today are exposed to. And another feature of this way of these methods is the use of time management and teamwork. So we are talking about collaborative ways of learning, and we pointed out and highlighted the importance of time management and effective teamwork for task, project, problem-based learning in LSP context. Also, we touched upon all different suitable strategies which are also applied in task, problem, project-based learning. And one of the very, very important features of task, project, problem-based learning is, of course, the use of self-directed learning or self-directed methods. This has led us to the conclusion that LSP teachers and learners have adapted and adopt new roles if they want task, project, problem-based learning to be successful. After the plenary, we ran 3 group sessions in which actually the basic concepts and the theory and the principles and the features of task, problem, and driving questions were implemented. Our participants, they were provided with original syllabi, and they were supposed to analyze them, and after that design their own syllabi based on the ideas discussed in the plenary. That was all from the Croatian team and the Polish team. And now let's move on to transversal skills and module 8. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alinka. And it's me again. I would like to tell you something about the module number 8. It was the first of the elective modules, and it consists only of the interactive plenary session. Of course, the aim of module 8 was to show ways how transversal skills can support LSP teaching and learning process. We have discussed not only the chosen aspects of transversal skills like motivation, negotiations, autonomy, critical thinking, tutoring, mentoring, coaching. But we have also showed examples of the use of transversal skills in LSP classes and in teachers' own development. Our focus was on supporting personal development of LSP teachers and in creating room for teaching creativity. At the end of the training, the trainee were able to name the main theoretical assumptions of autonomous and self-directed learning, time management, negotiations, mentoring, motivation, critical thinking, and innovation opportunities. They were also able to explain the advantages of autonomous and self-directed learning for LSP learners and lifelong learning, and create activities of autonomous and critical thinking, create activities that require autonomous and self-directed learning. They were able to estimate the time needed for the realization of tasks given to LSP learners. They understand the role of pragmatic and social linguistic competence for effective negotiation in LSP settings. They were able to explain the main assumptions and types of mentoring in LSP teaching and learning process, and they know the different roles of teachers as mentors, as coach, as tutors. And finally, they were able to link the types of motivation with adequate motivational techniques, identify the possible risks affecting LSP learners and teachers' motivation during the LSP learning process, and create solutions to deal with these risks and implement motivational techniques into their LSP teaching and learning process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanna. Module 9 was the other optional module, so people could decide whether they wanted to attend this module or the one about transversal skills. The ones who had opted for this module had a chance to have a very practical, hands-on session where they learned something about the specialized text corpora and the main theoretical assumptions of corpus linguistics that were needed to do this workshop. Then they learned about some of the corpus techniques that are used in LSP materials design, the criteria for designing appropriate corpora. We also discussed the corpus techniques for the extraction of discipline-specific terminology, including multi-word units. And they could also observe LSP vocabulary in context, in real context, which was deemed particularly useful for the trainees. The main objectives were to construct and organize a sample specialized corpus, which could be useful in LSP teaching, and also to construct and organize a sample specialized corpus of authentic written and spoken sample text from a given domain. And it was deemed particularly useful to have authentic texts that trainees could draw on, especially to have examples that they may, real context examples that they may use in their own teaching. And we also focused on creating the guidelines and tasks for LSP learners in order to facilitate the autonomous use of existing specialized corpora. And in order to do that, we used corpora such as the COCA concordancer, which was used as an example for trainees to familiarize with corpora, and also a small specialized corpus, the DICO corpus, that is the diplomatic corpus that was used by Cinzia Spinzi, who actually delivered this module. And we can now move to module 10.
Yeah, thank you. So University of Bordeaux was in charge of module 10. I am Marianne Chatoino from University of Bordeaux, and we delivered this module with Marie-Christine Derich. We designed this research module with an eye to the type of audience planned, and we thought that the majority of them were teachers, but not systematically researchers. So we wanted to help them discover LSP research in relationship to their teaching, to help them design a personal research project as well by taking into account the network of associations, the journals in which to publish, and the main methodological principles. Finally, it also seemed really interesting to offer them a self-positioning grid so that they could situate themselves and see what they could improve in terms of research for the development of their institutional career. So we developed LSP research in relation to LSP teaching and development of a personal research project based on a career pathway perspective. We talk as well about LSP research trends and opportunities and about LSP research publications. We mention as well theoretical and practical guidance. And finally, we design a participants for the on-career development of the participants. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mateja Dostal from the University of Ljubljana, Slovenia, who was in charge of Module 11. As Violeta already mentioned, Module 11 was lesson planning. It was a 180-minute closing session with 3 simultaneous group sessions where work was done in smaller groups or pairs at the same time. So the idea was to use the knowledge, the skills, and the insight gained throughout the whole week of Trail School and design or come up with a 90-minute LSP lesson plan. So after a brief trainer-led overview in 3 sessions simultaneously, the participants formed groups where teachers chose their LSP discipline, their field, and students joined them to come up with a lesson plan. They were provided with a checklist and the companion, blank Google Drive templates, and some other tools. In the first step, they outlined the teaching, the learning steps, and accommodate them with regard to the to the lesson planning checklist, especially the learning outcomes and the methods of assessment, and also other aspects discussed in this throughout the whole school in all the modules. For example, the LSP teaching context, the mode of teaching, the genres, the lesson organization, teaching activities, resources, ICT, research, all previously mentioned in the outline of all the modules today. So in the second step, the lesson plans were presented in smaller groups and discussed. The potential problems were discussed and also potential solutions to these problems. And then in the final step, lesson plans were presented to all briefly and reflected in a way, well, the reflection reflected, and ideas were reflected and shared, and all the takeaways of the session, and also as a wrap up also of the trail score. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Greg Holloway from Arcola here. So I'm going to breeze through this very, very quickly because...
Whoa.
Sorry. Joe Cullen has jumped in. So there's two of us. Okay.
Yeah. If we could start with the overall methodology.
Well, if I may say